Some of the records you might know me by is Walk Around the Club, Bump Everybody, Throw It Off, Trillion, Prince Rick, a lot of the earlier Soulja Boy stuff. Most recently, California with Colonel Loud, Young Dolph, and right now on the way with Luke Nasty. Going up the charts, going crazy.
Okay, cool. So let's go back. Let's go back for a minute. And you kind of got your start. Was it with you kind of got your start with was it Kylie Clark and Soulja Boy? Was that when you first introduced?
Right.
Okay.
I was actually working with Kylie Clark Music as a producer on the record label.
Yeah.
And one of the first groups we started working with was Cadillac Boys, and thereafter came Hurricane Chris and Soulja Boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I guess let's talk about that whole sound. I think it was like 07, 08.
Yeah. It's a long time ago.
Okay. I mean, if you could just talk about that era and that sound.
That whole era, I mean, you coming straight out of college.
Yeah.
I mean, just wide open, so it was just all, fun and games. So it was perfect for what was going on at the time. So music was a lot more free, a lot more fun. It wasn't so serious at the time. Everybody was dancing. The snap movement had just come out, and that was it. So it was just all perfect timing.
Let's talk about the transition from like snap into trap. Like it was like around that time where it was almost like a little, we saw the transition. And you saw the transition.
Right.
So for you, because you work with G's and you work with Gucci, let's talk about that transition from the Atlanta sound, from the snap sound to the trap music.
Honestly, it was a real weird time. I mean, because you didn't know whether to dance or get ready to fight. It was just weird, So, and it literally happened. It was going on at the same time. So you had gangsters on one song, Jeezy playing something. They throwing up gang signs and ready to shoot, and then the snap music come on, and everybody leaning and rocking with it. It was just you didn't know what was going on. It was fun though, but it wasn't even a transition. It just kind of happened. That's the best way to describe it.
If you could talk about the different approaches, because there seems like there's a different approach from having the snap music fun and then almost a more hardcore sound with the trap music. As a producer, what approaches do you take to make sure that each sound has its own organic feel?
The best way to do it is, like I said, even with, you just have to go off the vibe of the artist that day. Just take D4L for instance.
Yeah.
They on Bankhead, they doing what they doing, but they still making fun music. Mm-hmm. And then you got, they'll come in another day and want to do some real trap stuff. So it's just really on the vibe and capturing that, which they're on that day. It changes. You never know.
Mm-hmm. What was it like working, I guess, with Gucci and Jeezy? Because you've worked with both of them. What is it? What was the songs and what was that experience like for you?
The song I did on Jeezy's second album was What You Talking About, mm-hmm. and that was one of the first major placements I was involved with. We did it through College Park Music, and it was crazy. Like, he just came in and was like, man, Jeezy looking for something. We need something like Trap Star or whatever. And I just played some stuff, like in 15 minutes. We threw some drums on it, and I think Vegas Nights was popping in. And I think they went to meet him out at Vegas Nights, played the song for him on CD, one of those thumb drives, nothing like that back then. And that was it. He's like, oh yeah, it's going to be on the album. I was like, damn, that was easy. That was quick. So I was like, this really happening. You know what I'm saying? And the songs I did with Gucci, that was more for the stuff with Soulja Boy.
Okay.
And me and Gucci actually went to high school together. Mm-hmm. Same side of town and all that other stuff. So it was weird because, like I said, the transition, Soulja Boy was this fun rapper, and he was like, yeah, man, I got Gucci on the song. We were like, who? And then he also had Gotti on the song too, a song called Shopping Spree. And I heard it, and it didn't sound anything like the normal Soulja Boy song. And I'm going to the Libra in the hood, and they just playing, and everybody just loving it. I was like, wow. So that kind of goes back to that whole transition we was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working with Nikki, what was that like?
It was the same situation. The first song she jumped on I did was through Soulja Boy.
Okay.
And it was a song called Wonder Baller. And literally, I didn't know who she was. She hadn't done the Donk freestyle yet or nothing. So he was like, yeah, man, I got this girl, man. Just send me something. We're going to get Chingy on the song. I'm going to get Gucci on the song. I was like, yeah, whatever, cool. And the song came out with Nikki. I didn't know who she was. And like 2-3 months later, she just blew up. And I was just like, really? So I guess that's just one of the things, being successful as a producer, you really don't ask too many questions. Just kind of go with the vibe and just like let it go sometimes. And
let's talk about California, because it was an interesting song, because it was a Southern rappers talking about California. It's almost like this dreamy place, this place that you kind of, I guess, aspire to go to one day. But it had a California feel, but it still had a Southern feel. Talk about that song, I guess, kind of combining both of the sounds, West Coast sound and Southern sound.
I'm gonna be honest, it was just really a vibe, I heard Frankie Beverly Mays Wheel 1. I don't know where I was at somebody's party and it came on. And I was like, man, that'd be dope if somebody rapped on it. So I went in the studio the next day and did it. And I shot it to a couple of major artists. And they liked it, but they didn't have a concept. The concept I had for them was, I don't guess it was what they were looking for. Mm-hmm. And I just kept shooting the track out, getting different hooks on it and everything. So I shot it to my man Pocket, who was Colonel Loud's manager. Yeah. I said, hey man, what you think about this? He's like, oh man, the track crazy. So they're like, yeah, we're gonna talk about California on it. I was like, y'all from North Carolina somewhere, Goldsboro or Greensboro, like they in the woods somewhere, but it didn't make sense to me the first time I heard it. And then actually I heard the concept of it and they put the hook on it, then Dolph jumped on it, and I was like, hold on. It got a little ring to it. Mm-hmm. I played it for a couple of DJs and it just took off.
And then Tip jumped on later?
Like way later.
Yeah.
Way later.
Yeah.
And literally, it was just a vibe. I just went with it, and it was like, okay, everybody likes it. We took it to a strip club, DJ Funky, at Strokers, he played it. Just so happened, we hadn't had the song mixed or mastered or nothing. I'm talking about it's raw. Mm-hmm. It sounds terrible. And the head guy, B103, Reggie Rouse, happened to be in there. Okay. And he walked up there, he's like, give me that record. And I was like, okay, Mm-hmm. I don't think they knew who he was. And they was like, man, what you think of the record? I was like, give him the record. And that this was on a Friday night. And on that Monday, he played the record at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. So it was a good thing, but it was a nightmare because we hadn't even talked to anybody about getting a sample cleared and anything. Oh. Yeah, so the record literally picked up like over a weekend. Mm. That quick.
Wow. Right. It was a big summertime day.
And then a lot of people thought it was Dolph's song. They didn't know whose song it was. They didn't know if it was Rico's song. They didn't know if it was my song. They just loved the song.
Whose song is it? I mean, I don't know. I just hear
it's actually Colonel Loud's song. Okay. So from there, a remix with Snoop. Snoop got on it. E40, Too Short. Okay. The Locks out of New York. It was just, that was so random. I didn't even see that coming. Then Bun B and Paul Wild out of Texas got on it. Big Gip got on it. It's like, it might be like 10 different remixes. Mm. And I still haven't heard them all.
Okay. So that's what it is. Yeah. Let's talk about On the Way, man, because that's one of the big ones.
Yeah. That record actually was just like me being a DJ. I used to DJ in college and all this stuff, and do a lot of clubs and stuff. But when I was DJing, I was never the one to play what everybody played. Yeah. So I would be the one to see like, oh, they haven't heard this in a while, or they haven't heard that in a while. So the club's kind of too hard to play something sexy. So that's what that was, and I just knew nobody. The last person I think used that sample was Ludacris with a Splash Waterfall remix.
Well, talk about the original song, and so people can know what you're talking about.
Okay, so the original song comes from Tony Tone, whatever you want. And it's a classic, you know. But I realized that it's a huge generation gap like that's going on now between the 16 to 24-year-olds. They don't know anything about Lil Jon. They don't know anything about that whole 90s era. Because you got to keep in mind, it was like half of them weren't even born.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are here on the way in California, and they're thinking that's the original song. It's so crazy. So for them, when they heard On the Way with some new lingo on it, some new sauce on it, as they say, it was like, oh, that's cool, that's dope. And I said, that's Tony. They're like, who? It's so weird, but that's how it happened.
Okay. That's what it is. So we gotta talk about Soulja Boy, man. He's had an interesting first half of the year, man. Like, have you spoken with him since the fight and the boxing match?
I would be, I haven't spoken to Soulja Boy at all. I get a lot of questions about Soulja Boy, but no, we haven't. I've been so busy working and stuff, and you get so many like calls every day.
Yeah.
You walk in the studio, they're like, "What's up with your man?" You got to look at Instagram. He's him. That's all you can say. He's him, and the fight is going on. It's like real. It's like,
being that because you saw him grow up pretty much.
Right.
You were there when he was first coming on the scene. You see him now on Instagram, and what's going on in your mind?
A lot of people don't know he's always been lit like that. Okay, so I remember when we first started working with him, he was 16, and his favorite rapper was Juicy J at the time.
Okay.
Like, he was a huge 3 6 Mafia fan, Gucci fan, but even though he was making all this commercial kid music, like, he was listening to that real trap under the gutter, under the table music,
Okay.
And so it was no surprise, he's always been very, wild and fun and stuff like that, but what he's on now, I couldn't even tell you.
Okay.
It's a show, I'll tell you that much, it's a show.
It's entertaining.
It's one of them things, like all of us, from everybody at the label, at College Park, everybody just like,
trying to figure it out.
I ain't even trying to figure it out. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Okay. That's what it is, man. So we gotta get some advice, some keys, man, because it's like when it comes to making music, making beats, producing, everything changes, especially in hip hop. Everything changes almost. It seems like within months,
right?
Where you see one sound and then all of a sudden it's a new sound. For you, how do you stay ahead of that pace and make sure that you catch the wave and don't get behind it?
The main thing is I don't even try to follow what's going on. And like the trap sound and what's going on now, I don't even like making that kind of stuff because it's cool, it's popular, but it's not really profitable. So a lot of those songs, like J. Cole said, like the 8-week rappers, those songs literally last 8 weeks, like seriously, before another one comes out. And there's nothing wrong with that. I did all that stuff early on in my career. But now it's about making those classics like California and On the Ways. And, it's in several different movies now. Like long-term things I'm trying to get into. And that's just the main thing. I always, when everybody's going left, I went right. And that's the main way you kind of stay relevant, because there's a lot of stuff that just sounds the same, and that's cool. Like I said, no diss towards anybody, but it's just I prefer to be different.
Okay.
Yeah.